Good evening and welcome to Chicago Tonight Latino Voices. I'm Joanna Hernandez. On the show tonight, why teens and young adults across Chicago are still struggling to find consistent work.
Many of these pieces
were
found in the fields as they're working the land.
Goddesses, warriors, and governors meet the powerful women of an ancient civilization in Mexico. And Sueños Music Festival returns on Memorial Day weekend, bringing reggaeton and Latino artists to Grant Park. And now to some of today's top stories. The Student Center on DePaul University's campus is once again open, but the quad remains closed. This after Chicago police began breaking down the pro-Palestinian encampment on campus at 5:30 this morning. Students continue to protest across the campus as police cleared out the area, restricting people from entering the quad. University President Robert Manuel released a statement saying the situation with the encampment on campus had been escalating with physical altercations and threats of violence. The university shared a website detailing more than 1,000 complaints submitted by students, faculty, and community members in the past 17 days. Police say no one was arrested in relation to the encampment dispersal, but adds 2 individuals were later placed in custody for obstructing a roadway. DePaul's encampment was the last remaining in Chicago. And meanwhile, organizations leading demonstrations in solidarity with Gaza say they will hold multiple marches during the Democratic National Convention with or without a permit from the city.
We will have tens of thousands of people in the streets of Chicago that week. It will be the largest mobilization for Palestinian rights in the history of this city.
Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart is calling on state lawmakers for more funding to get guns from those revoked firearm owners' ID cards. Dart says of the more than 39,000 people in Cook County who have their FOID card revoked, 68% have not accounted for their guns or turned their FOID cards as required by law. And statewide, there are about 112,000 revoked card holders, with 74% non-compliant. Dart says more funding is needed to help local law enforcement access the state retrieve the guns and FOID cards from residents' homes. The most common reasons for FOID are reconnovations are felony convictions, mental health concerns, and orders of protections, according to the sheriff's office. If you're downtown tomorrow and you forget your lunch at home, you may be in luck. The Chicago Food Truck Fest kicks off tomorrow in Daly Plaza. The festival features a rotating selection of food trucks from around the city. And if you miss out on it tomorrow, don't worry. The food trucks will be back every Friday through October 4th from 11 to 3 p.m. The Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection will release the list of trucks participating tomorrow morning on their social media accounts. Up next, young people across Chicago are struggling to find consistent work. A look at what's behind the lag right after this.
Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, is made possible in part by the support of these donors.
Chicago's teens and young adults, particularly those of color, are struggling to find consistent work. That's according to a new study from the University of Illinois Chicago. It found for Black Chicagoans ages 20 to 24, the jobless rate is around 30%, 15% for Latino residents, and 8% for white Chicagoans. Those behind the study argue these findings highlight the need for targeted programs to create more equitable employment opportunities for youth and young adults. Joining us now with more are Jack West, Executive Director of the Alternative Schools Network, who commissioned the report; Joel Rodriguez, a community organizer with the Southwest Organizing Project; and Brandy Kanazi, the Commissioner of Chicago's Department of Family and Support Services. Thank you all for joining us. Jack, I want to start with you. Your work focuses on getting youth into the workforce. What does this report tell you about the opportunities for youth to be employed?
The kids want jobs, and there are way too many kids who don't have jobs. Just in the city, there are over 25,000 16 to 24-year-olds who are not only in school but are out of work. That's a dangerous situation. They would have jobs, but there aren't enough jobs for them, especially in the west and south sides. Historically, there used to be a large federal commitment up until 2000 when Bill Clinton ended it, and they were employed up to 400,000 young people who were low income across the country. Since then, they've all been unemployed. There's no federal commitment. The city's done what they can with One Summer Chicago, about 24,000 plus kids, but the kids want a job. They want a handout. They want to work. They want to do some work, how to get along with people, how to follow instructions.
And I want to bring Commissioner in here.
Sure.
You mentioned One Summer Chicago, and your office and the mayor have made the One Summer Chicago program a priority. Can you tell me more about the city's approach to creating more jobs for youth?
Definitely. So from 2022 to 2023, Mayor Johnson really doubled down on what we're doing with One Summer Chicago. So we've seen a 20% increase last year, bringing that to the 24,000 jobs. This summer, we want to bring on another 4,000 jobs, supporting almost 28,000 young people across the city between not only DFSS, but also our partners at the CTA, Public Library, the Park District. And so really bringing the full force of government. Part of that, is really thinking about who and how we outreach with these young people. And so we work with about 51 partners across the city, including these organizations, Alternative School Network and SWAP. And so what we've done is really double down to make sure that 50% of the young people who receive these jobs are young people who have been impacted by violence in the community, who are justice involved, who may be homeless or unhoused, as well as young people who are facing, maybe disabilities. And so really making sure that opportunities are going to young people who need them the most.
And Joelle, I want to go to you. You also work directly with the city's young people. What do you think hasn't worked in the past that could be driving this?
Yeah, it comes down to investment, right? When there is investment, there's opportunities. And so what we're seeing is that we need more investment for opportunities for young people. We are consistently engaging young people, and we cannot discount the parents, engaging the family as a whole, listening to them. And what they're telling us is simply there is a lack of knowledge of the opportunities that are out there, number one. And then number two, the opportunities are just not there enough. They're only there for the summer. There's not long-term employment for young people.
And where should these opportunities start from? Where should they start talking about these opportunities?
Yeah, when I think about that, I think about the schools, right? The schools should be the one place where parents and young people are clear about the opportunities that are available to them and how to access them. And then organizations that are boots on the ground like SWAP, that are doing the work, that are doing the hard work of connecting with parents and young people and ensuring that they not only know about it, but they're being connected to those opportunities.
Do you ever see that there's a disconnect between CPS schools and private schools? I mean, my brother goes to private schools and he takes an entrepreneurship class. Mm-hmm. I never took an entrepreneurship class when I was, in high school. Mm-hmm. Do you see that?
Well, yeah, inherently there's a disconnect when there's a lack of resources, right? So we're seeing schools that have one counselor for the whole school. So how can there not be a disconnect, right? When you cannot meet the basic needs of young people and families, there's a disconnect. So there's a necessity to ensure that the schools are properly funded, that they have the right staff that understand the young people and families and address some of those needs.
And Jack, you're calling for $300 million to go directly towards youth employment efforts, which could create 80,000 jobs. How would you do this?
It would go through different city and state agencies. It probably could go to the Department of Human Services at the state, and they could subcontract with the city of Chicago, Cook County, and other groups, other government groups, who in turn would contract with small community groups and churches and that who have connections with the youth. And that's the important relationship they have, that they can support the students for their first jobs, and they learn what it is to show up on time, get along with people, and then they can go out into the private sector and get the jobs that are there. So it helps them. The Department of Human Services in 2017, University of Chicago did a study. About 1,700 young people were supported with mentoring and other supports in a 7-week summer job. They followed those kids for 17 months. Their violent crime went down almost half, 43%. So getting the kids a job helps them move forward, makes the neighborhood safer, and it helps build workers that we need for the worker shortage.
Commissioner, what are your thoughts on what he's saying?
So I'll say a couple things. You know, when we look at our impact report from last year, here's what we know. 86% of our young people said that they felt that they learned a new skill, right? They learned something different. 93% of our young people said they felt safe when they were in our programs. 95% said they would recommend our programs to others. And so that means that we're creating safe spaces. As part of our programs, we're not just focusing on a job for today, for the summer. We're thinking about career development and what that means. And so we're teaching our young people to think about their career. So they do an assessment and they're paired to see what are 3 careers that they could possibly go into. And from there, they're tasked with actually going out and meeting people who are doing those jobs so that when they leave the summer, it's not just the job, but they have a plan for 3 months, 6 months, and a year of how are they going to put that plan into action. The other
so it's like guiding them and trying to change their mind.
This is
their
really
mindset.
about career exploration. This is about career development and creating pathways of teaching young people what is possible that you haven't seen before. The other piece is about financial literacy, of making sure that when our young people leave, they understand the value of $1, how to save, whether they're saving for college, maybe they're saving for an apartment or whatever, taking care of their family. They understand that you can't spend all of your dollars, you also have to save your dollars.
And Joelle, what about you? How does the Southwest Organizing Project work with young people to help them find their path forward?
Yeah, the first thing is just listening to young people and families. What is it that they desire? We have a goal of connecting 100 young people every year to free career pathway training programs and ensuring that they understand what are the opportunities, what does it take, right? What are the expectations in that career, connecting them to the career training providers and ensuring that they're successful along the way, giving them wraparound services.
Which could also be a trade or a skill.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. There's many young people that are interested in the trades. I know that there's been, they were very much in school said the 4-year university is the route to go, right? But there's a lot of young people that are interested in the trades, and we want to make sure that they understand that there is opportunities out there, and at a very low cost, almost no cost, opportunities out there for them.
And Jack, I know we talked a little bit about this, but why is Chicago and the South and West Sides in particularly falling behind?
Well, what's happening economically since the early 70s is that there's been a huge transfer of industrial jobs out to the Far East. And what's left are lower paying jobs in the services. And that was a big transition. A study we did showed with the University of Illinois Great Cities that a Hispanic man with no diploma in the 60s could make enough money, help their family and buy a home. That's not the case anymore. The old joke is that they hear that, oh, there were 200,000 jobs last year, or last month, and the guy says, yeah, I got 3 of them, because they can't make enough money in the summer job, in the service jobs. It's a lack of opportunity. And the other studies have shown that, I got my jobs through my dad and relatives and all that. And lower income kids, there aren't as many opportunities, and they don't have the connection to the labor market.
And they have to figure it out sometimes
Yeah,
on their own,
absolutely,
especially if they're
right.
first generation.
Well, and that's why having these jobs through the community groups right there helps them get the experience of having a job. And I always say, I'm not working for nothing, and the kids get paid. And that's a big experience to learn from.
Well, thank you. That's all that we have. Thank you for
Thanks
this conversation.
a lot. Thanks.
Up next, Wonder Women of the Ancient World take over the National Museum of Mexican Art.
Wow. Good.
Sculptures often depict women as symbols of beauty and fertility, but a new exhibit at the National Museum of Mexican Art gives visitors a glimpse of a society in Mexico where women held high power positions. The exhibition is called Ancient Huasteca Women, Goddesses, Warriors, and Governors.
A lot of people don't realize that there was a civilization known as the Huasteca that are from that region of Mexico. And the Huasteca people had their own language, had their own traditions. They existed for about 3,000 years. I think the part that is most surprising about this exhibition and the Huasteca civilization is that women did have a place of power in their society. Wasn't frequent, wasn't all the time, but obviously they were there. We know this because of the sculptures. La Jugadora, as she's known in Mexico, although some of the younger folk here at the museum have nicknamed her La Chingona.
Which is like badass.
The badass, yes. She's a very unique piece that was found about 50 years ago. She's never been displayed. The thing that's so unique about her is that she's a woman. She has the earrings, she has the traditional Huasteca hat that women would wear. She's got a necklace, but she also has knee pads, and she has the hip guards that would have been worn by ball players. What she tells us about that time period is that women were a part of different rules and a part of different aspects of society. It wasn't as segregated perhaps as we think it was, right? We oftentimes imagine the women staying at home, doing domestic chores. Well, here we clearly have somebody who was out there keeping the world safe, keeping the world going, and appeasing the gods.
Museum officials tell us most of the big sculptures were discovered by farmers working in the fields. I mean, that's extraordinary. I can't even imagine how they felt. You still have time to check out the stories behind the carved statues. The free exhibit runs until July 21st at the National Museum of Mexican Art. And get your festival gear and outfits ready. Now in its third year, the Sueños Music Festival will turn up the volume of Latino music and culture on Memorial Day weekend at Grant Park. The event brings some of the biggest names in the industry like Maluma, Peso Pluma, Joel y Randy. The list goes on. Joining us now via Zoom to talk more about the festival and the impact Latino music is having in Chicago are Aaron Ampudia, co-founder of the Sueños Music Festival, Mariam Paz, a Sueños resident DJ who performs under her stage name DJ Mariam, and Sandra Tribeño, a music journalist and the founder of Latin Alternative Music website. Now, thank you all for joining us. Aaron, I actually went to the festival the first year. It was so awesome. I have to ask, where did the idea come from to create Sueños Music Festival?
I mean, Sueños came from, we do other festivals in Mexico, so we saw that the Latino market was in need of a real Latino festival that could represent and celebrate Latin culture in Chicago. So that's where the idea came from.
And I mean, Chicago has a huge Mexican population. Why out of everywhere did you choose to be here in Chicago?
Chicago's a great city. We have great partners in Chicago with C3, and like you said, it's a huge Mexican and Latino population, lots of Puerto Ricans, Venezuelans, et cetera, so that's why.
That's awesome. Mariam, you've been a house DJ for the festival since it launched 3 years ago. Can you tell us about your DJing background and how you became and how you partnered with Sueños?
Long story short, because I've been in the industry for quite a while, but as a DJ, I started DJing a little bit before COVID, back in 2019, and then lockdown happened. But the way I came across Sueños, like Aaron said, they have a lot of dope partners they work with in Chicago, and I believe it was just they were doing their research and looking for local talent, and I'm assuming you guys spoke with some of your partners, and I was mentioned, and here I am. Thankfully.
And you took that opportunity.
Yes.
And Sandra, I want to. That's really awesome. And Sandra, I want to go to you. What was your reaction, like in 2022, when you heard about the Sueños Music Festival? Why do you think it's important to have a festival like this in downtown Chicago, celebrating Latino culture and music?
When I first heard about it, I was surprised because I believe it's the biggest reggaeton festival to come to the city, and to have it at Grant Park is so important to the genres that are being presented and platformed. It's bringing together different age groups as well. It highlights current Latin age music trends and emerging talent as well. So I think as the years keep going and it keeps growing, it's the perfect opportunity for us to see new artists and new talent that's out there, as well as the classics. That's why I think the intergenerational thing is really important, and I appreciate that they're doing it at Grant Park. And I hope it encourages other genres from Latin America and the Latin diaspora to come and celebrate with us in Chicago. Share your music.
Of course. And Aaron, how does Sueños go beyond being just a music festival?
We try to stay relevant and present in Chicago year round. We support a lot of nonprofit, charities that work with the Latino community. We've donated over $200,000 last year to those nonprofits, and trying to create a positive impact in the community. Apart from that, we work with all local Latino restaurants that come and participate. And it's basically a food festival as well. You have all the best Puerto Rican, Mexican, all types of food. It's over 40 vendors, so it's a whole cultural experience.
Are you proud of yourself of what you guys have created?
I feel honored to be in this position and to hear the feedback from Chicago Latinos, that it makes them feel so proud that there could be a Latino festival celebrating their culture in Grant Park.
That's awesome. And Miriam, I'm sure it has to be nostalgic to DJ in front of thousands of people. For those who haven't been to the festival, how would you describe it? What's the vibe? What's the feeling?
It's honestly an indescribable feeling. I mean, if you're a party goer, if you go to concerts, if you've been at festivals, you're mostly surrounded by the same kind of people, and it's with Sueños Music Festival, it's refreshing to see people who share the same culture as you, the same background as you, who speak maybe the same, whether it's your first or second language as you. You know, just being able to, I think it's really special what Sueños has been doing is, well, what the ultimate goal is, right, for all Latinos is to help each other and give each other a platform. And they're doing that amazingly. And I'm, again, like Aaron said, super honored to be in this position and to be representing Chicago natives.
That's awesome. And Sandra, how is a festival like Sueños a sign that Latin music is evolving into the mainstream? I mean, now we also see it in late night talk shows where artists like Young Minko are coming to sing their music in Spanish. I mean, you would never see that before.
I know, it's exciting. It's an exciting time. And if I can read you something published in Variety a couple of weeks ago, it says that Latin music revenue hits $1.4 billion in the second year as the fastest growing U.S. market, representing a 16% growth over 2022. So it's an exciting time for all artists, and a showcase and a platform like Sueños Fest, I think, bringing together not only the reggaeton and the trap and corridos and música regional and New Mexican music it's a great thing. It's showcasing all this new music that's out there that's still within the Latin music scene.
And same question for you, Marian. Why do you think the Latino music has, made it globally?
I mean, I think it just has to do with a lot of elements, but going back to what we all grew up with, right, which is singing and dancing, you know, and it's just kind of been embedded in our blood and in our culture before even understanding language. You know, it just makes you move, you know, and you don't have to understand what they're saying, but music is a feeling, you know, and I feel like with social media and everything and all these other platforms giving us a voice, I think it's just we're living in fast times, and we're finally getting the recognition we deserve, and people are indulging in our culture, and I love to see it.
And Miriam, I do also want to ask you, you're here from Chicago, you grew up in the North Side, you're a female DJ. I mean, what does it mean to break into this industry that we know can be very male dominated, and to just play in such a big stage like Sueños?
It's definitely been a journey, you know, definitely a lot, like anything, you know, you go through obstacles, you go through ups and downs, but then you come across people who believe in you, you know, and they see past whether you're a male, female, however you want to identify, and really, really again, it goes back to talent and culture and helping out each other from one Latino to another, you know, and I think it's a really, really cool movement, and I'm happy to be a representative of not only Chicago natives and Latinos, but a representative of women in the industry.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And that's our show tonight. Be sure to check out our website, WTTW.com/news, for the very latest from WTTW News. And join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 7 for the Weekend Review. Now, from all of us here at Chicago Tonight Latino Voices, I'm Joanna Hernandez. Stay healthy, stay safe. Buenas noches.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, which is proud to honor founder and senior partner Robert Clifford, who has been named in Forbes' 2024 list of America's top 200 lawyers.